Hello everyone, this is Prem Kumar. Yes, I am Prem Kumar. I just changed my look. In this video, we are going to implement the SAML SSO authentication using authO as the identity provider. In the previous videos, we implemented the same SAML workflow using authO as the identity provider. But in this video, I will replace authO with the authO. This is going to be a very short video. Let's straight away go and do the changes. First, I'm going to take the role of the identity management system administrator and I'm going to provision users and also create or set up single sign-on for the Pega application. What you see in the screen is the dashboard of authO trial instance. And from here, I have to do two steps. First is the user administration and second is the application integration. First, I will start with the user management. So you go to user management, users, and straight away start creating users. I'll say create user and then I'll say ganesan@alife.com. Also set the password. Now click create to create a new user. The first work is done. The second work, we are going to create a new application to do the integration. So go to application and then from here create an application. I'm going to call it as Clients app and it's going to be a regular web application. Just go here and then click create. Now that we created an application, to use the SAML integration, we have to use the add-on. Go to add-on and then enable the SAML integration. And from here, you have to fill in very simple steps. All those other details are pre-filled or it is already populated. So you go to settings and here you have to provide the Pega ACS URL. Now let's go to Pega Business Studio and get all the service provider details. To get the service provider details, you have to create a new authentication service. Use the create menu to create the authentication service. I'll name it as authO and in the service alias, I'm going to name authO. Okay, now first let's go to the service provider settings and then get the service provider URL. As you see, same like last video, I am using the server which is exposed to internet as ngrok because authO is again a cloud instance. So we cannot have our personal edition as only local host. That's why I exposed it to internet. And you also see all the URLs that has the domain name that is exposed by the ngrok. So I'm just going to copy this and then say application callback URL. So this is where the response will be posted. All you have to do is just provide these settings alone and then you can go to the usage tab and from here you can also download the IdP metadata. I'm going to download it and now you just go to settings and enable this. Here, unlike authO, we don't want to individually assign users to the application because under the connections you see, currently we are connected to the database username password authentication and also users, they are currently into this model, into this username password authentication. So by this way, they are already part of this application. Now let's straight away go into Pega and test our authentication service and go to the newly created authentication service and import the IdP metadata. Do a submit. Now the values should be automatically populated. You should also see a key store instance got created. You can click here to check the key store instance. For now, let's quickly provision the operator. So I'm going to do enable provisioning and I'll provide the operator name as my name. I'm not going to do any other additional settings. If you want to know about the additional settings, the post authentication activity, you can visit my previous video on SAML authentication using authO. Just make sure to disable request signing because we are not going to sign the SAML request. Only the SAML response will be signed by the authO. So we have successfully created a new authentication service. Next, we'll try to log in with the newly created user and see if an operator ID is created into Pega. Just making sure there is no operator ID of Ganesan. Now I'm just logging out of authO from my administrator logging in. Next, I'm going to launch the login URL. I will also use the extension of SAML tracer here and then click and enter. You see, first it presents me a login page because I want to log in with the user for the very first time. Once I gave the username password, then I can continue. Now the URL change should take place. You see the assertion consumer URL and I should be logging in directly by creating a new operator ID. You see, we have successfully logged in. We can also open the operator ID straight away. Go to operator and click on it. You see the operator ID is having some kind of unique or a junk ID from the authO and all other details are pre-filled from the Prem operator, which is the model operator. Can you guess from where this ID comes in? Yes, it comes from the name ID from the SAML response. Let's also verify that from the SAML tracer. If you go to SAML tracer and click on the SAML response, go to the SAML tab, There you will find the response attributes, and you see currently in the subject the name ID is auth062. You see you also get other SAML response as claims. You have claims email address which holds the email address, name which holds the email address, UPN is also again the email address. You see different attributes are there. So what I'm going to do is, instead of using the name ID, I'm going to use the attribute email address. To get the attribute name, you just need to copy the entire name content. So it's going to be a HTTP URL reference. Copy this. Now go to Business Studio and open the authentication service. Under the operator identification, instead of using the name ID, just use an attribute and specify the email address attribute under curly braces. We will also do one more thing. We will do the mapping for the email address. Go to mapping tab. So here we map it to the operator ID's email address. Now before testing, I want to show you one more thing. If you want to do more debugging on the SAML authentication flow, you can enable loggers. As of 8.7, to enable loggers, you have to go to the admin studio, and from there you can add loggers into the log categories. Let's straight away do that. Go to admin studio and under resources, navigate to log categories. Currently, I don't find any specific log category for SAML. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to create a new log category and add all the loggers into the log category. I already have a blog article on logs. I'll also provide in the description of this video, which you can look into. Now let's create a new log category. Go to actions, create log category. I will just name it as SAML and then add loggers. A small tip to find the necessary loggers, you just have to do SAML. Just search for SAML. It is going to list you all the Java loggers that are part of SAML. Since we are using SAML version 2.0, you can enable all the loggers that have the reference of SAML v2 and then just enable it into debug mode. So I'm going to select everything, just click submit. Now that we have created a new log category, let's change the log level for debug. I find the newly created log at the very end. Go here and then change log level and then change it to debug. You can also set the hours till when you want to do the debugging. I'm going to just say 2 hours and then do a submit. Now next time when we use the SAML authentication, these loggers will enable the debugging mode. Okay, now it's time to test. I'm going to test it in incognito mode. Now paste the auth0 login URL. Then you should be redirected to the auth0 login page. Now provide the details and click continue. Now you should be seeing a new operator ID created using the email address as the unique identifier. Let's open the operator ID first. Click on operator. You see the PY identifier is kanesan@alive.com, and you should also see the mapping for the email address. You see email is successfully updated. Finally, let's also check the logs that got generated by adding the new loggers. Go to settings, system, and then operation, logs. Now open the log file, Pega log file, and just remove your name and apply. Here, as you see, lot of log entries were generated on debug mode for the right loggers which we enabled. And if you look at the log messages, you will see step by step how the SAML authentication works. You see here relay state is used, then it uses the key store, then it validates the signing response. Everything you can look into it on your own. So if there is some error, the first thing what you can do is you can use the SAML tracer, and then you can also enable loggers and check in the debugging mode. I will end this short video here. Now you see how easy it is to set up an SSO SAML authentication service. Just get experience with the different IdP providers, then you will find the right confidence to implement the SSO. As a hands-on, I would recommend you to use Mini Orange as the identity provider and just implement the SSO. I think you can easily do it. See you in the next video.